Every summer, there's a line to jump into this water. People climb the rocks and drop into a perfect circle of blue in the bed of a creek, maybe 12 feet across, clear to the bottom. Below where their feet hit the water, someone welded an iron grate across a hole in the rock. A local diver put it there to keep people out of the caves underneath. It didn't stay. They found it pried off, with a note left behind, scrawled on a piece of plastic. It said, "You can't keep us out." Past that grate, a rescue team worked for 12 days trying to bring up two bodies. Then they stopped and left them where they were. The people on the surface are still jumping. 9 feet of clear water over a doorway that has never given everyone back. From the surface, there's nothing to be afraid of. That's the whole trick of the place. Jacob's Well sits in the bed of Cypress Creek near Wimberley in the Texas Hill Country. A round mouth in the rock, about 12 feet across, filled with water that stays at a constant 68 degrees all year, clear enough to see straight to the bottom. Small fish sunning in the shallows. In a state where more than half the natural springs have gone dry since 1900, this one has never stopped flowing. It looks like every other swimming hole in Texas. It is not. The bottom you can see from the surface isn't the bottom. About 30 feet down, the shaft that the swimmers know simply keeps going. It narrows, it turns, and it opens into a cave system that runs more than a mile underground and reaches 137 feet deep. The second largest fully submerged cave in the state, hidden under a pond you could throw a rock across. The circle of blue the kids jump into is the top of a chimney, and the chimney has rooms. The only people allowed to dive it now are a research team that has spent years mapping those rooms. People who do this for a living, with the right gear and the right training, they call it a challenging, unforgiving environment. That's the description from the experts who go down there on purpose and come back. Here's what going down there actually asks of you. The first shaft is easy. 30 feet, straight down, wide, lit from above by that circle of daylight. Anyone with a tank and some nerve can reach the bottom of it. That's the part that feels like swimming. Then the well stops going down and starts going sideways, and it starts closing in. The passage is narrow. Room to room, the rock draws in around you, until near the far end of the system, it comes down to a single gap, 15 inches wide, shorter than the distance from your elbow to your fingertips. You cannot fit through 15 inches wearing a tank on your back. So to go through, you take it off. Think about what that means physically, in the dark, 100 feet down inside solid rock. You unclip the one thing keeping you alive. You push it into the hole ahead of you, breathing off the hose as it goes. Then you feed yourself in after it, into a slot the width of a mailbox, with stone against your chest and stone against your back. There is no turning around in a space like that. There's forward, and there's backing out the way you came, blind, by feel. And on the far side is the chamber that earlier divers had swum into and never swum out of. The one at the end of the squeeze. You have to separate yourself from your air, on purpose, to reach the exact place that keeps people. The divers have a flat, technical name for that 15-inch gap. They call it the final squeeze. For at least 9 people, the name turned out to be literal. The 2 whose bodies are still down there weren't tourists who wandered in over their heads. Just after midnight on September 9th, 1979, a diving group from California pulled into Jacob's Well and started setting up camp. 2 of them didn't want to wait for morning. Kent Maupin, 20, and Mark Brasher, 21, decided to squeeze in a quick dive before bed. Maupin was not a beginner. He'd been diving since he was 12 years old. He was already a certified instructor, the person who teaches other people how to not die doing this. They went down with no backup lights, no safety line, the 2 rules that keep cave divers alive, and they carried neither on a midnight dive into the most dangerous water in Texas. A third diver, Joe Moy, was down there with them, and he saw where they were headed, the final squeeze. Maupin pulling his tank off to feed himself into the gap. Moy tried to stop them. He waved his flashlight at them. He pounded his knife against his own air tank, the loudest signal you can make underwater, the sound that means, stop, wrong, come back. They didn't respond. One after the other, they took off their tanks and disappeared into the black opening. Moy said he sat there and watched them go, and there was nothing he could do. The reporter who later reconstructed it couldn't find a reason. No dare, no plan, no argument. The best he could write was that The two of them seemed to be seized by an impulse to go further. A certified instructor who knew every rule followed a whim through a 15-inch hole at midnight. And the skill that should have saved him may be exactly what told him he could. To understand what waits past that squeeze, go back to the last cave we stood inside. In Eagle's Nest, the thing that killed you was your own instinct. Panic hit. Your body screamed up, and up was solid rock. The reflex that saves you everywhere else in the world drove you into the ceiling. Your body was wrong. Jacob's well is worse. Here, your body is right. Play it out. You're deep in the system, past the squeeze, and something goes wrong the way it always does down here. A fin stirs the silt, or your light catches nothing but suspended murk, and the visibility collapses. Now you do everything correctly. You stay calm. You look for the way up and out, and you find it. A passage opening above you, leading toward the surface, exactly what you're trained to look for. So you go up it. It's called the false chimney. It looks like the throat of the well, the shaft back to daylight. It rises like it. It invites you in like it. And it ends in solid rock. It has trapped at least one diver who did nothing wrong except believe the exit in front of him was the exit. He made the right decision. He executed it well. The cave just handed his good instinct a forgery and let him swim into it. Eagle's Nest breaks your instinct. Jacob's well counterfeits it. And you don't find out which chimney you're in until you're already inside it. Nose to stone and water gone blind, in a passage with no room to turn around. Everything you know about narcosis is down here too, dulling your judgment at the exact depth where telling the real exit from the fake one is the only thing that matters. The real chimney and the false one look the same going in. Only one of them looks the same coming back. 12 days. That's how long they tried to bring Maupin and Brashear back up. A professional outfit, Schaefer Diving Company, brought in a decompression chamber and banks of compressors and put their own divers into that system, past the same squeeze, into the same blind chambers that had killed the two men. A second team, sent for another opinion, went down and came back with the same conclusion. There was no safe way to recover the bodies. The best thing to do was to leave them where they were and seal the well. So they stopped. The chamber and the compressors went back to the home office. Maupin and Brashear stayed down there at the end of the final squeeze, and as far as the record shows, they are down there still. 9 people died in Jacob's Well between 1964 and 1984. 8 men and 1 woman. And the well would not let itself be closed. Someone welded that iron grate across the entrance to keep divers out. It came off. In its place, a note scrawled on plastic. "You can't keep us out." The barrier meant to stop the dying was treated as a challenge by the living. Here's where it stands now. For decades, the deal at Jacob's Well was simple and grim. Divers died in the dark below, and every summer, children jumped into the bright circle of water directly above them, daring each other higher up the rocks, trading ghost stories about the ones still down there. Then, in February 2023, the county closed the well to swimmers. Not because of a drowning, because the spring is running low. Drought has cut the flow, and the water levels dropped far enough that the Parks Department called it unsafe. The water that took 9 people, that never gave 2 of them back, has for the first time in recorded memory started to disappear on its own. The circle of blue the kids grew up jumping into is still there. The line to jump into it is not. Beneath doesn't stop at the surface. Subscribe and we'll show you the next quiet place still holding what it took.